Alright, so I started out trying to make a video about how I'm approaching getting good at Guild Wars 2, but every time I tried to make the video, it became such a general topic. There's so much to say about my specific approach to learning stuff that I wanted to make it its own general topic video. So that's what we're doing here. There are some caveats that I want to get out of the way in the beginning. It is very likely that I have some ADHD and a touch of autism, so my brain might work differently than yours. This video is not meant as a tutorial or how-to. No results are promised, and really it's just there for the people who are close to me that want to know what's going on up there. So before we can even dive into process, there are some fundamental beliefs about the world that underride the whole thing. Firstly, outcomes are outside of your control. It is not possible to guarantee outcomes. At any time, a meteor could fall out of the sky. The referee could be the other guy's dad. Your brain aneurysm could show up for work. Whatever happens, we need to let go of outcomes as a metric. Secondly, execution must be separate from study. It is critical that we only review metrics from dedicated execution phases. In practice phases, we are intentionally going slow, we are changing variables, we are doing things in an isolated way that cannot be expected to succeed. During execution, we don't waste brain power, brain space on anything that we did in practice. We don't think about the hours that we spent practicing the combo. We don't think about how many times we messed up. We're only focused on using the absolute limit of our abilities to achieve success. We also don't try to figure out what we're doing wrong during execution. We don't get caught up in our feelings. We don't give into vibes or assumptions. We know that we will review the data at a later time, and we're glad to have it, but it is not important right that second. Third, information diet. Contrary to what the corporate overlords want you to believe, it is possible to curate what goes into your mind. What goes in will determine what comes out. You must learn to choose when and what you are willing to download into your subconscious. This often means skipping out on seemingly innocuous things like headlines or movies or even seemingly informative deep dive videos. Guard your mind. Treat it like a cherished dog trying to eat random things off the ground. Fourth, if you can name it, you can kill it. This is actually just a goofy way of saying the inverse. If we don't define things, we can't work on them in any capacity. Get good or go faster are not actionable ways to progress. We will name things so that we can kill them. Having a defined process allows us to pour gas on the fire when we're doing that process and not waste effort when we're not. If I'm not actively engaged in a specific step, I don't worry about collecting data or locking in. It's not always work time, and pretending that it is will just burn you out. Lastly, stress only exists until you take action. Time and time again, I have witnessed people who are tearing their hair out over some problem in life, and then immediately they melt with relief upon making a decision. As long as we have a plan and a next step, we will not become frustrated. If I ever feel that heat rising, I know exactly where to look. I know that I need a next step. With that out of the way, here's how I approach learning anything from a new video game to a new programming language to how to repair things. Step 1. Build an intuition. Perhaps the most neglected step to learning is the initial familiarization. This is your opportunity to set up foundational anchor points for your understanding of what all the moving parts are. If you just go out and watch a bunch of random videos from random people, your foundational anchor points are going to be flimsy as hell. At worst, you'll start your understanding at a high level and not know up from down. I make a point of not taking in any outside opinions or ideas on what a thing is. I spend maybe 10 to 20 hours just messing with it and developing my own understanding of what things are. I try to think of at least one way to use each thing. I acknowledge that some of these will be very, very wrong. However, it's all linked directly into every other bit of my lived experience with similar things. Foundational. Anchors. Figure out how you think it works. Step 2. Get the information. Now that we know what things are and we can point to them, it's time to figure out what is factually true about them. This is where you go deep diving on videos, guides, books, and anything else you can get your hands on to further clear up your understanding of the system. The things you were wrong about are the things you're most likely to understand most deeply. By the time you're done here, you should be able to explain what each piece does to a novice. It is important in this step that you focus on factual information, things that are literally true, and not just opinions from people giving you a high glossy overview. You can consume both, but really the goal here is to get a technical understanding. Step 3. Define failure states. I will generally spend about 10 hours on this step. I will execute for a while and figure out what possible causes of failure there are and which are most common to me. I'll then set up a simple chart for tracking them. Whenever I can trace a failure back to one, it gets a tally. This is how I know what and how to practice. Without this data, I'm literally just whacking it. I'm stroking my ego to feel like I'm working hard. I only think about this or tally after actual execution phases. It is very important, absolutely critical, that we do not conflate our practice phases and our execution phases. As this topic is general and fields are way too many to really crystallize into like a static set of failure states, I'll just list off some of the more common causes of failure from the things that I've learned in the past. So a really common one is wrong input, which is where your body betrays you and you do the wrong thing, you press the wrong button. Wrong decision, I did things accurately, but I did the wrong things. Knowledge check. I failed because I didn't know something. I was missing some information. I didn't know something existed. I didn't know how something worked, and that came back to bite me. Disregard. Now, it's important to have a category for discard, things that we are not going to get value from focusing on. Maybe it was completely out of our control, or maybe it was such a rare fluke that practicing it would be an actual waste of time. There's some things that we can just safely ignore, and you need a category for that because that will save you so much time. Needs further assessment by a mentor. There are things that you know are wrong that you feel were solvable, that you're pretty sure you could have succeeded at, and you don't know why you failed. These are the replays you want to keep. These are the failed projects that you want to keep. And you want to get them in front of a more experienced person so they can tell you what you don't know. Step 4, execution. Before we can practice, we have to execute. You have to go out and do the thing so you can figure out how you're failing. If you're training for PvP, you have to queue up. If you're learning a new programming language, you have to build something that somebody will actually use. As scary and unprepared and awkward as it will feel to go do the thing with no practice, it is necessary because there's nothing to practice without data gained from execution. So you will execute. And then you'll go to step 5, practice. Practice for any type of failure will vary. The important thing is to choose a single aspect of a single item and drill it in isolation. The way to think about this is that you can't break the wrong cycle in your brain, but you can divert around it. The goal is to do the correct thing enough times that it becomes easier and more natural than the wrong thing. Here it is important to divorce yourself from outcomes. Doing a new input or decision will require you to go very, very slowly at first. You must ignore all other factors and focus on deepening this brain path. You can't be worried about eking out the W. So some examples of how you would practice the failures that we mentioned before. If it's a wrong input, you do the combo on the dummy until you can't do it wrong. So if it was a wrong decision, when you get back into that position, you have to slow down. You have to forget about everything else, anything else that you're practicing, any chances of winning. You slow everything down as slow as you need it so you can make the right decision in that moment enough times that you do it by heart. If you failed a knowledge check, then it is time to study up. If you can't explain to a newbie how something works, then you don't understand it. It's not really practice, but we do count those disregard failures, and we count them so that we have awareness. This helps you accurately assess how often things are just completely out of your control. And for the ones that need further assessment by a mentor, you're going to post on a forum, you're going to make a video, you're going to ask somebody, but you're not going to just let it sit on your hard drive. You have to do something with this. This is part of practice. This is part of getting better at things. Step 6. We're back to execution. You have to execute regularly. Now, this is separate from study. This is separate from practice. This is dedicated, I'm just trying to win with all of my abilities and faculties. This is where the loop begins. You have now executed and then practiced. Now you execute again. And you do this with no connection to your previous practice. You just trust that the work you put in has improved you. You're getting a whole new data set from this execution. You're getting a whole new list of things to practice. You do not compound your data on top of each other. So really the way that I approach learning things is not terribly complicated. Basically, I just watch my replays and I am very specific about the ways in which I am a loser. By doing that, I do see relatively rapid improvement upon things because I'm always addressing something that is real and specific. If you're interested in a real-world case study, this is the process I'm using for Guild Wars 2 to get better at World vs. World as a thief. And the next video in that series should show that. So yeah, thanks for taking the time.